I figured I'd make a quick video just to recap what absolute value functions look like. This is an example of what you're going to see on Delta Math for your absolute value problems. It says solve for y if x is -2. So obviously you plug -2 in where x is. So your first step would look like this. Just bring down the y equals absolute value of -2 minus 6. And then your next step, you're actually going to take the absolute value of -2. Now, if you forgot, the absolute value is the distance of a number from 0. So the way that works is, as most of you know, you basically just drop that negative sign. A -2, the absolute value is going to be +2. Absolute value is always positive. Absolute value of the number 50 would be 50. Absolute value of -50 would also be 50. So if you just simply have a negative number, you drop that negative is all you're going to do. So we're going to have 2 minus 6. So the answer is -4. Now for this type of problem, we have an x minus 10 inside our absolute value. So we got to treat this like parentheses. We're going to have to do all the math in here before we take the absolute value. It's not really that difficult, but you just got to make sure that you're doing all the math inside the absolute value before you do anything else. So I'm going to plug this 5 in for the x. So instead of x, I'm going to put a 5 here. So it'll be minus 10. So now I'll say y equals, and I'll do the absolute value. 5 minus 10 is -5. Absolute value of -5 is +5. So you see how we did this? We just did all the regular math, plugged in the number, did the normal math, just 5 minus 10. At this point, the only thing left to do was take the absolute value of the -5. And when we did that, we got +5. You only take the absolute value when all the math that's inside is done. So all this math right here is completed before we actually take the absolute value. So you just bring the bars down with it. And then at the end, that's the only thing left to do, take the absolute value of -5, and there you go. All right, this problem is kind of the same. You're going to have to plug the 8 in here, do all this math before you take the absolute value. So I have y equals, I'm going to plug in an 8 for the x, and I'll have 8 plus 11. And then I got to take the absolute value of it all. So 8 plus 11 is 19. So I have the absolute value of 19. And the absolute value of 19 is just 19. Because the 19 is already positive. Not really a whole lot to do there. I just wanted to show an example of this so you understand that even if there's not a negative number in here, it still ends up making it positive, because some people get confused and think, well, you just change the sign. It's not, you're not changing the sign, you're making it positive, just whatever positive is, because absolute value, like I said before, is a distance from 0. So the distance from 0, if you had a number line, let's say you had -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, then the -2 was only 2 away from the 0, same as the +2 is only 2 away from 0. So the absolute value here would be +1, +2, because it's the distance away from 0. That's what absolute value is. It's not just simply making numbers positive. You're looking for the distance from 0.